If you're doing IFS on your own without the guidance and support of a professional, you have all my respect. That's also how I started almost 9 years ago, and I very well remember the challenges and the frustrations of it. I remember very well how challenging it was to be both the guide and the client at the same time, and how many parts of me actually came at the rescue trying to help out the process and doing IFS the right way. And this is why I created this video, to provide a few tips and fundamentals that can support you to make the best out of your IFS practice. If we have never met, hi, I'm Valentina Mannini, and I am a certified IFS practitioner and a psychedelic assisted therapy facilitator. I also have a master's degree in leading change in individuals and organizations, and I am at the final stages of my certification in psychedelic somatic interactional psychotherapy. So let's dive in how you can make the best out of your IFS practice. Something that is very often overlooked or underestimated is the power of creating a safe container for your sessions. Even though you do IFS on your own without the support of a therapist, or maybe you do have a therapist, but you also do IFS on your own, just know that these are very different things and they do not function in the same way. At least they never did for me, and they do not for my clients, at least for most of them. So it's really important that when you do IFS on your own, you create a safe container that actually allows your parts to feel the safety that you are creating for yourself to go deeper, to be able to be with your parts. Because something that happens very commonly is that I have a session with a client and we go to an exile, and then we set up an intention to check back in with the exile. Sometimes that works, but often enough protectors do not allow that to happen outside of the safety of the therapy room. That is why it does actually really help to either create a safe container in whatever way your system actually would like that container to be, or to find other ways in which you can connect with these parts in a way that your protectors find less threatening. And that could be a guided meditation, it could be journaling, it could be one of the other modalities that then I'm going to touch on in the next suggestions and strategies in this video. The second tip, which I really wish I knew when I started with IFS, is the importance of self-attunement. And we can also call it mindfulness in this sense. It is the ability to be present with whatever arises inside of you, just allowing whatever is there to be there. And of course, at the beginning, there might be parts that are not so much on board with this. They don't want to feel discomfort, they don't want to feel sadness, they don't want to feel doubt. And those are the parts that have been repressing those emotions or those feelings. And it's really about building up or practicing your tolerance to be with these emotions or to be with your bodily sensations in a way that feels right to you, without pushing yourself, without putting too much pressure. And the more you learn to actually sit with what is present without trying to change it in any way, acknowledging that is there, the more that creates that sense of curiosity about is there. The more curiosity comes in, the more you can actually feel the ability to acknowledge what is there without having to change it, without sending parts away, without feeling frustrated about what is there, while something else should be there, without getting frustrated about not being able to get to the exile fast enough, because what needs your attention is already there in front of you. And this is really a fundamental skill that will not be valuable only in IFS, but in so many other ways in your life. And it's really this ability to sit with things and let them be. Because when you can do that, that's when your protecting parts will notice you. That's when your protecting parts will really start trusting you, because you don't have an agenda. You don't want to rush through them to get to an exile and do some healing. You do not want to push them away because you have better parts to be curious about. That's when all your parts can start to trust that you're there for them. That's when they can start to trust that you're not going to use them or abuse them or abandon them. And that's when true unblending very naturally happens. The third tip is to start with a gentle exploration of your system. And that's because when you do IFS on your own, you do not have another person in the room holding safety, holding self energy, and creating this inviting and welcoming container in which your parts can naturally feel trusting and can naturally feel like opening up and showing themselves and allowing things to go deep, even sometimes in a few minutes. When you do IFS on your own, it really helps to start gently by exploring what is present and really taking a little bit more of time at the beginning to notice what else is there. So maybe you have a target part and you want to get to know that part better. But it really, really helps if you take a moment to notice what else is there. And you might notice it in your body, you might notice it in a very special way, like feeling there's the presence of something, on the side of that other part or behind. And just really staying with what else is present for a little bit so that you can get a feeling of what other parts might be involved, might be connected or polarized with that part that is your target. And in this, you can then notice any frustration, any mistrust, any fears that arise. And you can gently touch on each one of these feelings and allowing them to feel seen and heard and be acknowledged in their presence. And actually asking permission to go to your target part. The fourth tip is to use guided meditations. I have personally took a very long time to realize what an incredible resource they were. And when I really felt into the need for those guided meditations to be more widespread, that's when I started to create my own, which of course are very valuable for my clients because it's my voice and it's my energy, and that really helps to create that feeling of safety and trust. Especially look for meditations that help creating a sense of safety and to connect with your self-energy, or meditations that soothe anxious parts or that soothe fear so that the system is a little bit more open to going deep, to allowing you to be curious about parts and things and wounds and beliefs and just create that sense of safety. The fifth tip is to externalize things on paper by journaling, or externalize things by using different chairs and externalizing your dialogue so that each part has its own chair. And you can really embody a part so that you can really speak up with your whole body what the part needs to share so that it can really feel witnessed. And this works really well with protectors. It gets a little bit more tricky with exercise, especially when you are on your own, but it's a really good technique to unblend from protectors. This technique can definitely make the process easier, more tangible, and also easier to navigate. And tip number 6 might sound a little bit cliche, but be patient and be gentle and kind with yourself. Remember that solo IFS work is challenging by definition. Doing IFS on your own is definitely slower than doing it with a therapist or a professional. And at the same time, acknowledge the fact that you are doing it. And it might be slow because the nature of it is to be slow. The nature of it is to take things one step at a time. And the nature of it is about creating trust. And creating trust takes time. And the last tip is to use creative approaches. And that's because, once again, doing IFS on your own is especially difficult and tricky. So when you use creativity, you are in a way unblending from the parts in your mind that are trying to help doing IFS. You are unblending a little bit from those parts of you who might actually be doing IFS for you. and you're just allowing art or movement or creative expression to connect to your subconscious, to connect to what is hidden away, and to just allow things to emerge in the way that they need, in a more fluid way, in a less mental way. Because after all, words are still the realm of the mind. Words communication is still something that very much resonates with the thinking mind. When you get into the moving, when you get into the drawing, when you get into creative arts, then your whole body is engaged, and so much more comes up through movement and through drawing than it comes up through words. And if you are interested in exploring IFS and parts through art and intuitive drawing, then you can use my videos, and you can find the links in the description. So here we are. I hope this was not too much. I would be very curious to know which tip resonated the most with you and what you're having the most challenges with, so that I can maybe create more content around what you are struggling with, so that you can feel more supported in your journey of doing IFS on your own.